Sometimes an entire epic story, a conflict that spans thousands of years, can be packed into a single, super dense sentence. It's kind of like a narrative black hole. Today, we're going to dive into one of the most pivotal verses in the entire Bible and see how it unlocks a story that starts on page 1 and ends with this huge cosmic finale. Let's get right into it. So here it is, Revelation 12, verse 9. Now, this isn't just some random thing that happens. It's really the dramatic climax of a war that has been weaving its way through the whole biblical story. And to really get the full impact, we've got to break it down, piece by piece. Okay, first things first. Who exactly are we talking about here? This verse gives us 4 different titles, and together they create this really comprehensive profile of the main antagonist. Understanding these names is absolutely the key to understanding his whole role in the story. The first title is the Great Dragon. The Greek word is drakon. And look, this isn't just some creature out of a fantasy novel. It's a symbol, and it's meant to show us immense, terrifying power. So right away, the scale of this conflict is set. We're not talking about some small-time villain. This is a mighty, cosmic-level opponent. Next up, he's called that old serpent. Now, this is a direct, you cannot miss it, callback to the Garden of Eden, all the way back in Genesis chapter 3. The author is making it crystal clear. The super powerful dragon at the end of the story is the exact same cunning serpent from the very beginning. The third title is Devil, which comes from the Greek diabolos. Now, this isn't just a generic, spooky name for evil. It has a super specific meaning, slanderer or accuser. This tells us his main tactic. It paints this picture of him as a prosecuting attorney in the courts of heaven, just constantly pointing fingers and making accusations. And finally, we get the fourth title, Satan. This name comes from a Hebrew word that just means adversary. It gets right to the core of his nature. If God has a plan, his fundamental identity is to stand in the way and oppose it. So there's our profile, a powerful cosmic dragon, the original deceiver from Eden, whose main strategy is accusation and whose entire nature is just to oppose. So, now that we know who this is, let's get into what happened to him. The verse repeats this crucial phrase, was cast out. This isn't just for dramatic effect. It's a very definitive statement about a specific event. But that brings up the huge question. When did this happen? If you look at the original Greek, the word used here is eblethe. The grammar here is really important. It describes a completed, finished action. This isn't some prophecy about what will happen one day. The Bible is presenting this as something that has already happened. He was cast out. It's a done deal. And this leads us to the million-dollar question, right? If his fall from heaven is a past event, when on earth did it actually happen? Now, it's worth pointing out that there are a lot of different theological views on the timing here, but there's a really compelling case to be made that the Bible itself drops clues that all point to one single world-changing moment in history. Okay, let's look at the evidence for this view. First up, we have Jesus speaking right before he's about to be crucified. He says, "Now is the judgment. Now shall the prince of this world be cast out." He's using the present tense, now, linking this massive cosmic event directly to what was about to happen to him. The second clue is even more direct. Jesus tells his disciples flat out, "I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven." He's talking about it as something he witnessed, a fall that was swift, decisive, and sudden, a complete removal from a position of authority. And the final piece of evidence from the book of Colossians ties this whole thing directly to the cross. It says that through the cross, Jesus disarmed these spiritual principalities and powers, making a public spectacle of them and triumphing over them in it. The victory was won right there. So when you put all these pieces together, they all seem to point to the cross. In this view, the death and resurrection of Jesus wasn't just some historical event that happened on earth. It was the decisive spiritual battle that completely shattered the dragon's legal authority to be an accuser in the courts of heaven. So if the adversary was thrown out of heaven at the cross, it changes everything. The entire nature of the war is different. His location changed, his methods changed. The battlefield literally shifted from heaven down to earth. Think about it like this. Before the cross, he acted as a legal accuser who actually had access to heaven. But after the cross, that access is denied. He's cast down to the earthly realm, and his job title changes from accuser to deceiver of the whole world. I mean, that is a major demotion. So what does this new war look like? Well, his primary weapon now is deception. The Greek word is planon. He doesn't have any legitimate authority anymore. His kingdom is basically an illusion built on lies, fear, and accusation. The only power he has is the power people give him when they believe those lies. And that's why the very next verse says that believers overcome him by two things: the blood of the Lamb, which is the ultimate answer to all his accusations, and the word of their testimony, which is the truth. All right, let's zoom out for a second. This event in Revelation isn't just happening in a vacuum. It's the grand finale of a story that started on the very first pages of the Bible. And Revelation 12:9 is the linchpin, the one piece that connects the beginning all the way to the end. Just look at this when you put it side by side. In Genesis, you have the serpent's very first deception. In Revelation, his final defeat. In Genesis, a curse is pronounced on humanity and all of creation. In Revelation, we get the promise, there shall be no more curse. Genesis starts with the first heaven and earth. Revelation ends with a new heaven and a new earth. You see, the end of the book is a direct resolution to all the problems that were introduced at the very beginning. So what this all means is that Revelation 12:9 isn't just some isolated event. It's the dramatic fulfillment of the very first promise of a Redeemer, all the way back in Genesis 3:15. That was the prophecy that the seed of the woman would one day show up and crush the serpent's head. And this verse, this is that moment. The head of the serpent, his authority is decisively crushed. And this right here is the ultimate takeaway from unpacking this one single verse. The message is one of a definite, finished, past tense victory. The dragon was cast out at the cross. His throne was shattered. His voice, his ability to accuse, was silenced in heaven. The war for authority is over. What's left is a war of deception, right here on earth. So, this leaves us with one last big thought to chew on. If the decisive battle is actually over, if the dragon has already been thrown down and his authority is broken, how does that change the way we see the conflicts and the struggles in our world today? What does it really mean to live in the light of a victory that has already been won?